you are. Love is not proven through dramatic language, endless reassurance, or emotional performance. Love reveals itself through structure, responsibility, you are, and voluntary investment. When a man begins to orient his life, his time, his decisions, his emotional regulation around the preservation of connection, you are. Attachment has already taken root. Not because you demanded it, not because you chased it, but because something inside him decided that losing you would cost too much. You are. That is the psychology of emotional attachment. People do not attach to chaos, they attach to clarity. Attachment strengthens when effort is freely chosen. You are. If he shows up consistently without being monitored, if he corrects his behavior without being threatened, if he becomes more intentional rather than defensive, you are. You are no longer negotiating interest. You are witnessing alignment. Human beings protect what they value and they invest where meaning exists. You are. If his actions become calmer, steadier, and more purposeful in your presence, it means the relationship has moved from desire to responsibility. You are. And responsibility is the deepest form of commitment. When a man listens more than he speaks, when he seeks understanding instead of control, you are. When he becomes aware of how his actions affect you, attachment has already begun. Emotional maturity emerges when someone regulates themselves not out of fear, you are, but out of respect. If he becomes careful with your trust, if he guards your emotional safety without being asked, you are, then your presence has become meaningful to his internal order. That is not infatuation, that is structure forming around attachment. Expend it. You are. Expend your energy on clarity, not persuasion. Be precise with your values. Speak once calmly and let actions respond. You are. Emotional attachment strengthens in the presence of grounded self-respect. When you live in alignment with your standards without apology, you are. You create a stable environment where genuine connection can grow. Invest in your own direction. Purpose is magnetic because it signals psychological wholeness. You are. When your life has order, others either rise to meet it or fall away. Both outcomes serve you. Expend patience on observation, not anxiety. Watch patterns, you are, not promises. Attachment is revealed through repetition. If he shows up when it's inconvenient, if he stays consistent when emotion settles, you are. If he remains present without constant stimulation, that is real. Give space for behavior to speak. Silence is not weakness when it is rooted in self-control. You are. It is an invitation for truth to surface. Expend discipline on emotional restraint. Do not over-explain. Do not over-function. Let the relationship breathe. You are. People bond more deeply when they are allowed to choose, not coerced to comply. Calm confidence creates safety, and safety is the foundation of attachment. You are. When you are steady, others adjust themselves around you. Don't. Do not chase clarity from someone who has not earned emotional access. Overt pursuit erodes value. You are. When you chase, you signal imbalance, and imbalance destroys respect. Do not negotiate your worth through effort. Love that must be convinced is not love. You are. It is anxiety in disguise. Do not confuse intensity with attachment. High emotion without consistency is instability, not connection. Emotional highs fade. You are. Structure remains. If someone disappears when discomfort appears, attachment was never present. Do not tolerate confusion longer than necessary. You are. Confusion is information. Do not abandon your standards to keep someone close. Self-betrayal kills attraction and poisons attachment. When you compromise your values, you are. You teach others how to treat you. Respect cannot grow where boundaries collapse. Here is the truth that demands courage. You are. When he begins to regulate himself without your enforcement, when he includes you in his future thinking, when he becomes accountable without being corrected, you are. You already have him. Because attachment is not about possession. It is about voluntary responsibility. And no one takes responsibility for what they do not value. You are. Real love is quiet. It stabilizes. It orders chaos. It does not beg for attention. It earns trust through consistency. You are. If he shows you through action that your presence matters, then stop testing, stop doubting, stop sabotaging. Meet stability with stability. Meet effort with dignity. You are. The strongest position is not control. It is self-respect. And remember this, the moment you stop chasing proof is often the moment attachment becomes undeniable. You are. Attachment is not born from intensity, persuasion, or emotional excess. It forms at the intersection of reliable behavior and inner dignity. You are. Human beings attach to what feels stable and meaningful, not to what feels chaotic or uncertain. When consistency is present, the nervous system relaxes. You are. When self-respect is present, value becomes clear. Where these two meet, attachment grows naturally, without force, without performance, without fear. You are. Consistency builds trust because it reduces unpredictability. When actions align with words over time, the mind stops scanning for danger. This is not romance, You are. This is psychology. People bond when they feel safe enough to invest emotionally. If someone shows up repeatedly, communicates clearly, and behaves predictably, they signal reliability. But consistency alone is not enough. Without self-respect, consistency becomes overgiving, and overgiving breeds imbalance. Attachment cannot grow where one person collapses to keep the connection alive. Self-respect creates boundaries, and boundaries create clarity. When you respect yourself, you do not chase attention or tolerate confusion. You state your standards once calmly and allow reality to respond. This behavior communicates value at a deep level. It tells the other person, I am stable. I am not desperate. I am not negotiating my worth. That message is powerful because it forces choice. And where there is free choice, real attachment can form. Attachment deepens when effort is voluntary. If someone chooses you without pressure, without emotional debt, without constant reassurance, the bond becomes stronger. When a man adjusts his behavior because he wants to preserve the connection, not because he fears losing control, attachment has already begun. People protect what they value. They invest where meaning exists. Self-respect invites that investment by refusing to beg for it. Expend Expend your energy on alignment, not persuasion. Live in accordance with your values even when it risks loss. That is the price of self-respect, and it is worth paying. When your actions are consistent with who you say you are, you become psychologically grounded. This stability is attractive because it signals maturity. Spend your effort on becoming reliable in your own life, consistent habits, clear goals, emotional regulation. Attachment mirrors structure. When your life has order, others respond to it. Expend patience on observation rather than reaction. Watch how someone behaves when there is nothing to gain. Consistency reveals itself over time, not in moments of excitement. Allow space for patterns to emerge. Silence, when grounded, is not avoidance, it is discipline. It gives reality room to speak. Expend courage on boundaries. Say no when something violates your standards. Walk away from what diminishes you. Every time you uphold a boundary, you reinforce your own self-respect. And paradoxically, this makes genuine attachment more likely, not less. People feel safer investing in someone who knows where they stand. Do not confuse emotional intensity with attachment. Intensity without consistency is instability. Passion that disappears under pressure is not love, it is impulse. Do not let highs distract you from patterns. Attachment is proven in repetition, not in words. Do not over-function in the relationship. If you are doing all the emotional labor, attachment cannot form. Is being replaced by dependence. Love requires two regulated individuals, not one caretaker and one consumer. Pull back when effort becomes one-sided. Balance is not cruelty, it is clarity. Do not abandon self-respect to avoid loneliness. Loneliness is painful, but self-betrayal is destructive. When you tolerate disrespect, you teach others how to treat you and yourself how little you matter. Attachment built on self-neglect will collapse under pressure. Here is the hard truth: emotional attachment cannot be negotiated. It emerges when someone feels safe, challenged, and respected by you and by themselves. Our consistency provides safety. Self-respect provides value. Remove either and attachment weakens. Combine both and attachment becomes inevitable. If someone becomes calmer around you, more responsible, more intentional, do not overanalyze it. That is attachment forming. Meet it with steadiness, not fear. Meet it with dignity, not control. The strongest connections are not fueled by anxiety, but by mutual respect and reliable presence. Emotional attachment forms when consistency meets self-respect, because that is where trust and value finally align. Love deepens where responsibility, not chasing, is present. Love does not grow in pursuit. It grows in order. When responsibility replaces chasing, connection becomes stable, dignified, and real. Chasing is driven by anxiety, the fear of loss, the need for validation, the urge to secure attention. Responsibility is driven by choice. It is the willingness to show up, regulate oneself, and act with integrity even when no reward is guaranteed. Love deepens only in the second environment. When someone takes responsibility, they become accountable for their words, their time, and their impact. They do not need to be reminded to care. They do not need pressure to be consistent. Their behavior aligns because they have decided that the relationship matters. This decision changes everything. Responsibility signals maturity, and maturity is the soil where love takes root. Chasing, by contrast, distorts the balance. It transfers power, erodes respect, and creates dependency instead of devotion. Love strengthens when effort is voluntary. If a man moves closer without being pulled, if he stays present without being pursued, if he invests without being chased, you are witnessing attachment deepen. People do not take responsibility for what they are unsure about. They take responsibility for what they value. When responsibility appears, it is because meaning has already formed. Chasing confuses intensity with connection. It creates motion without direction. Responsibility creates direction without drama. A responsible partner does not disappear when discomfort arises. They confront, adjust, and remain. This steadiness allows trust to accumulate, and trust is the foundation of love. Without trust, emotion burns hot and fast. With trust, love becomes enduring. Expend your energy on self-regulation, not pursuit. Master your impulses. Speak clearly once, then observe. Calm presence is more powerful than repeated explanation. When you regulate yourself, you invite the other person to do the same. Emotional discipline is not distance, it is strength. Expend your effort on building a life that has structure and meaning. Purpose stabilizes you, and stability attracts responsibility. When your life is ordered, you no longer need to chase attention. You become someone others choose to align with. Spend your time developing competence, clarity, and consistency. These traits create a gravitational pull that chasing never will. Expend courage on allowing silence. Silence reveals intention. When you stop filling gaps with effort, reality shows itself. Those who are willing to take responsibility step forward. Those who are benefiting from pursuit step away. Both outcomes serve your growth. Do not chase reassurance. Reassurance gained through pressure is temporary and hollow. Love cannot be sustained by constant proof seeking. When you chase clarity, you teach others that uncertainty will be tolerated as long as emotion is provided. Do not rescue someone from the consequences of their inaction. Responsibility cannot be outsourced. If you carry the relationship on your back, you prevent the other person from standing up. Love requires two adults. Not one caretaker and one passenger. Do not mistake absence for mystery. Distance that follows effort is not attraction, it is avoidance. Stop pursuing what does not move toward you. Love deepens where there is mutual responsibility, not one-sided persistence. Here is the uncomfortable truth. The moment you stop chasing is often the moment love either matures or dies, and that is necessary. What survives without pursuit is real. What collapses was never sustained by responsibility to begin with. When someone takes ownership of their role, communicates clearly, shows up reliably, and adjusts behavior without coercion. Love has space to grow. Responsibility transforms desire into commitment. It turns interest into investment. It replaces fear with trust. Love is not secured by effort alone. It is secured by the right effort applied in the right place. Responsibility creates that place. Chasing destroys it. Choose dignity over anxiety. Choose steadiness over urgency. Love deepens where responsibility, not chasing, is present. Boundaries clarify value faster than words ever will. Words are cheap because they are easy. Boundaries are costly because they require action. That is why boundaries reveal value with speed and precision. Anyone can promise, explain, apologize, or persuade. Very few people are willing to adjust their behavior when a line is drawn. The moment a boundary is set, truth surfaces, not through argument, but through response. A boundary is not an ultimatum. It is a declaration of self-respect. It communicates what you will and will not tolerate without hostility, drama, or explanation. When you set a boundary calmly, you place responsibility where it belongs. The other person is free to choose alignment or exit. That freedom is essential. Because real value is revealed only through voluntary compliance, never through pressure. People treat you according to what you permit, not what you say. You can explain your needs endlessly and still be ignored. But the moment your behavior changes, when access is reduced, when availability is withdrawn, when standards are enforced, value becomes unmistakable. Boundaries transform abstract principles into lived reality. They force action, and action never lies. Attachment, respect, and love all respond to structure. Structure creates safety. When someone knows where the lines are, they can orient themselves properly. Chaos breeds anxiety. Clarity breeds stability. Boundaries are not walls, they are frameworks. They define the space in which healthy connection can exist. Without them, relationships collapse into confusion and resentment. Expend your energy on defining your standards before conflict arises. Know what matters to you. Decide in advance what behavior you will accept. When a boundary is crossed, respond once calmly and consistently. Emotional neutrality is power. You are. It signals that your boundary is not a threat. It is a fact. Expend courage on enforcing boundaries through behavior, not argument. Do not over-explain. Our explanations invite negotiation, and negotiation weakens structure. Let your actions speak. Reduce access, change routines. You are. Remove emotional availability where respect is absent. This is not punishment, it is alignment. Expend patience on observing response. You are. How someone reacts to a boundary tells you everything you need to know. Respect looks like adjustment. Disrespect looks like deflection, minimization, or anger. You are. You do not need to interpret intentions. Behavior provides clarity faster than any conversation ever could. Do not confuse boundaries with control. You are. A boundary governs your behavior, not theirs. You are not telling someone what to do. You are telling them what you will do if misalignment continues. You are. Control breeds resistance. Boundaries invite choice. Do not set boundaries you are unwilling to keep. Empty lines destroy credibility. You are. If you draw a line and then erase it out of fear, you teach others that your limits are flexible under pressure. Consistency is what gives boundaries their authority. You are. Do not apologize for having standard. Guilt weakens structure. Self-respect strengthens it. You are. You are not responsible for managing someone else's discomfort when they encounter your limits. Discomfort is often the first step toward growth or departure. You are. Both outcomes are acceptable. Here is the hard truth. Boundaries do not push away the right people. They filter out the wrong ones. You are. Those who value you will rise to meet your standards. Those who benefit from your lack of limits will resist, argue, or disappear. Let them. You are. Loss is preferable to erosion. When you stop explaining and start enforcing, value becomes visible. When you stop chasing understanding and start honoring yourself, you are. Respect follows. Boundaries do the work that words cannot. They remove ambiguity. They eliminate false hope. They clarify reality. If someone becomes more careful, you are. More consistent, more respectful after a boundary is set, value has been confirmed. If they withdraw, attack, or ignore it, value was never there. You are. No speech could have revealed that faster. Boundaries clarify value faster than words ever will, because structure always exposes truth. What a man protects, invests in, you are, and aligns with, he is already attached to. Attachment is not hidden in words or feelings. It is revealed in behavior. You are. People do not protect what they feel indifferent toward. They do not invest in what they plan to abandon, and they do not align their future with what holds no meaning. You are. When a man protects your emotional space, invests his time and effort, and aligns his direction with your presence, attachment is no longer a question, it is a fact. You are. Protection is the first signal. When a man becomes careful with your trust, when he shields the connection from chaos, you are. When he corrects his behavior to avoid harming the bond, attachment has already formed. Protection requires awareness and restraint. You are. It means he is thinking beyond himself. That shift from self-centered desire to relational responsibility is where attachment begins. Investment follows protection. You are. Time, energy, and attention are limited resources. Where they go reveals priority. When a man invests without being asked, without needing reminders, you are, he is acting from internal motivation. This is not performance, it is commitment in motion. People invest where they see future value. You are. Investment is the bridge between interest and attachment. Alignment is the deepest indicator. When a man begins to factor you into his decisions, you are. When his plans naturally include you, when his values adjust to preserve the relationship, attachment has reached structure, you are. Alignment means the connection is no longer an accessory, it has become integrated into his life. Desire fades. Alignment remains. You are. Expend your energy on observing behavior, not interpreting words. Watch what is protected, where time goes, and how decisions are made. Patterns reveal truth. You are. Calm attention is more powerful than interrogation. When you stop demanding proof, real proof emerges. Expend self-respect by allowing investment to be voluntary. You are. Do not remind someone to care. Do not coach effort. If you have to manage investment, attachment is not present. Step back and allow choice to appear. You are. Freedom exposes reality. Expend discipline on maintaining your standards. Respond to effort with appreciation, not overcompensation. Meet investment with steadiness. You are. When you remain grounded, attachment can deepen without pressure. Do not confuse attention with investment. Words complements, you are, an emotion without consistency or noise. Investment is repeated, reliable action. If effort disappears under stress, attachment was shallow. Do not chase protection. You are. If someone places you in situations where your dignity or safety is compromised, attachment is absent. Love does not endanger what it values. You are. Absence of protection is absence of attachment. Do not force alignment. If someone resists including you in their life, believe the signal. You are. Alignment cannot be negotiated. It happens naturally when attachment exists. Here is the reality most people avoid. Attachment cannot be hidden for long. You are. It leaks into behavior. It shows up in choices, sacrifices, and priorities. When a man becomes accountable for the connection, you are. Attachment has already crossed the line from feeling to responsibility. If he protects your peace, invests his resources, and aligns his direction with your presence, you are. Stop doubting. Meet reality with clarity. Meet attachment with dignity. The strongest position is not control, it is discernment. What a man protects, invests in, and aligns with, he is already attached to.